Welcome, all you deeply loving people. For those of you that can love deeply, welcome to my channel, The Healing Heart. I'm Calgan, you're you, and let's go through this together. As always, I've got my trusty coconut water here to keep me hydrated, and a bowl of seedless red grapes and blueberries, because it's really important to keep that healthy fuel going into your body to help you get through this. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why it hurts so much during a breakup. I know for me right now, it's February the 15th, 2018, and the pain level for me is about 2 out of 10. And I am, 2 to 3 months out of my breakup now. So the pain, over the last few years, there's been a lot of studies done on what's known as attachment theory. And there's another great coach on YouTube, Craig Kenneth. He's done some fantastic videos on attachment theory as it relates to breakups. So go and check out his videos if you want to know a bit more about that. But in this video, I'm just going to give a sort of a brief overview of what attachment is and how it plays out in our breakups and why it hurts to be broken up with, especially. So attachment theory puts forward that we all develop attachment styles, and there's 4 main attachment styles. There's anxious attachment, there's avoidant attachment, disorganized, and healthy attachment. And a lot of it is to do with our experiences in our formative years, okay? And attachment style has also been shown in animals as well as humans. So it is a biological response rather than a conscious response. So attachment can start right back in utero, okay? When you're in the womb and it's warm and it's safe and you're being fed fluids and things, food to keep you alive, basically, okay? And you're bonding with the mother who's carrying you. And then at the time of birth, it's been shown that within the first 10 minutes of life, that young babies will start to attach to the caregivers who are there at the time. Now, in most times, that's the mother, but in a lot of times, the baby might be taken away, possibly for adoption or something, and that's going to cause a little bit of detaching straight away. Your physical memory, conscious memory is not developed at that stage, but you are already starting to have body memory. So you will start attaching to whoever's keeping you alive at that stage. At that stage of life, we are totally vulnerable. We're totally reliant on whoever's there at the time keeping us alive. And like I say, in most times that's the mother and then the father. But in a lot of cases it could be a caregiver, an auntie, a nurse, or somebody else. But whoever it is that's basically keeping you alive at that time and giving you attention, that's who you start attaching yourself to. Now, that's in the first year or 2 of life, but right up until, the ages of 8 to 10 years old, we're still very, very reliant on our caregivers, for food, clothing, emotional support, all sorts of things. And still up in that stage of life, we are still very, very reliant on these caregivers. So the attachment grows and becomes stronger. And it's not, again, it's not a conscious thing. It's happening subconsciously. It's happening biologically. It's not something that you sort of reflect on at that age and say, well, I'm going to attach myself to this person. No, it's happening at a very, very core level. Then from the ages of 8 to 10 years old, you will start to explore a bit further outside of yourself and start to form social attachments, okay? Now, just to go back a little bit to the at birth and first 10 years also, in the first 2 years, 2 to 3 years of life, if a toddler attaches itself to a favourite toy or blanket or something, and you rip that toy away from them, and that's the reaction that they get. Well, that's how strong that attachment is. Although at that stage of life, toddlers can pretty much move on pretty quickly, a day or two, if you take their favourite toy away from them and replace it with another toy, okay? But they're needing something to attach themselves to. So anyway, after the first 10 years, 8 years onwards, we start to form real deeper social attachments to our peer groups, our friends, other people outside of us, other family members, all that sort of thing becomes more prevalent. And this social attachment also goes back, well, thousands of years, if you like, when we were living in smaller groups, and being part of that group was very important for our survival. To be exiled from the group basically meant death, starvation, abandonment, or even worse, being eaten by a tiger, okay? So it was very, very important biologically to remain part of that group. Now, obviously, that's not the case these days, although social isolation can be very, very damaging, can be very, very upsetting, traumatic, because we're social creatures and it's very important to have social connections with people. And so this attachment starts to go into a wider circle, not just our immediate, you know, circles, and we start to bond with peers and friends. Now, as we go on from there, and we go into our later sort of mid to late teens and onwards, we start to form romantic attachment with a person that we start dating. We form a connection with that person, and then in most cases we start to kiss, hold hands, that sort of physical touch, and then eventually having sex with that person. And that's where you're forming very, very deep bonds. Now, as the relationship progresses along, you are starting to bond with that person, you're growing roots into that person and attaching yourself to that person. And that attachment is the same attachment that's been going on your whole life. And that's why when somebody will say, my relationship was only 3 months long, but I'm still grieving 6 months later, it's because of it doesn't matter the length of the relationship so much, but the connection that you had with that person, your attachment style, and the attachment that you've given to that situation already, okay? So that's a little bit why, attachment plays a big part in our breakups when we're getting broken up with, especially being rejected. It's almost like you're saying, please don't abandon me, please don't kill me. That's the biological response that's going on. And the body starts to release chemicals that, in reaction to that situation, especially cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And unfortunately, again, the longer you've been with that person, let's say you've been with them for 2 years, 5 years, you've built a life with them as well, you've got children with them perhaps, the attachment to that person and that life is very strong and goes right back to in utero and birth. Okay, so when that is all coming to an end, this whole attachment thing is going to start coming up. So look, I hope that helps a little bit about understanding attachment and how it plays a part in our breakups. There's quite a lot of information on the internet now. You can look up to find out a bit more about what sort of attachment style you have. And like I say, that attachment style is going to play a big part in how you react to your breakup. Some people can be fairly okay with it and fine, yep, no worries. And others will fret and grieve, I guess, for a much longer period of time. If this video can help even one person, then I'm glad that I'm doing it. It's certainly helping me. And if you know anyone that you think it might help, please send them the link. Click on the subscribe button below and put a like on the video. That will help get the content out to people that may need it. And in the meantime, please take care of yourself, your heart, and your health.